Hey, what's up, guys? So this is kind of like a turn and burn vid. Mike is a longtime commenter and subscriber to my content, and was begging me to do some HM2 videos regarding the Peavey Supreme 160. I'll probably do the Ultra another time, but anyways, this is a made in Japan one. I think this is like 84 or 83 model. Um, so it was like modeled to kind of sound like a heavy Marshall stack, like cranked and very misunderstood because of what it's famous for now. But I think you could still kind of find some '80s rock guitar applications that you can kind of hear it. It has a characteristic, even if it's not like all Swedish, sweeted out. Um, but that's like what it's famous for, right? So, but everything at noon here. So the guitarist from Entombed, I think, started it, and he was like this like history lesson um, for people who want to keep like hear my fucking what I heard. But anyways, um, yeah, the guitarist for Entombed, he wanted like a tube screamer. I think it was too expensive, so we ended up getting this, and then they were like playing with the sound, and it's a really finicky pedal, like even just to dial in something kind of like rock and roll, because it's like you just have the low and the high, and whatever you have it. Maybe it sounds promising on a Marshall. To this day, I want to figure out like what Boss used as their like test out guitar pedal amp. I'm assuming it's like a clean channel on like a Fender or something that they like ran all their pedals through for like testing. But anyways, if you guys know that, let me know. He dimed it on a PV Studio Pro and then moved to a Bandit. Um, and the magic with the Entombed sound and the early stuff is, I guess, PV, right? So, um, aside from the amps, I think the earlier version of the blue line. Well, there wasn't an early version of that, but whatever came before this line was what they used. I think like the mid '80s ones. It looks a lot more plain, and I think it's like silver striping, not like the '90s ones, but it was a lot more. I don't know. I don't know what this motif they were trying to go for here, but it's cool. It rules. Um, but I'm trying not to ramble so much. But anyways, he liked it. I mean, he said it sounded good all the way, like maxed out, which works, man. I mean, it's sick. It'll cut through the mix and provide a gnarly tone to make the most of what you got. So, I think he was like running a fucking 1x12 Studio Pro, and then that broke, and then he used the Bandit for uh for recording a left hand path. Um, but a PV is what you need, and I think there's like a huge argument where like what speakers they had used, and it's either the Sheffield or the Scorpion, and I think it's the Scorpion. The older ones are like they weren't like really branded yet because no one really like knew the power of speaker brands and names back then yet. Everyone just kind of grabbed what they had and played. So the trick to the achieving the sound like with I mean it's ridiculous trying to say like um in a context where you can be heard by yourself as a guitarist and cut through the mix, because I've messed with the pink Behringer pedal. I messed with this pedal. You cannot hear yourself live if you don't like turn all the way up. I think the studio application is a lot more beneficial. I've seen people run Tube Screamer before to make it a little more grindier and um, just a little more. It just gives it a little more kick to it, which is already ignorant already. But obviously, you have to just play with like all the settings and take it back a bit. So this is the first part of the video. I'd recommend, and I think there's the HM2 Colt channel. Dude has a Supreme 160, and he kind of keeps the lead gain channel, but he doesn't press the shift button I would say the old school death metal button he doesn't press in, and the gain he leaves off, because it just makes it mush after a while. So this is the first half of the video, and then I'll just showcase some of the tones. Alright, a little quick run through of the amp. You guys kind of know what to expect. I heard the clean channel is great. At the gates use the clean channel with the metal zone, but I'm not doing that today. So this is the channel we're at. This is a beefed up Bandit or the Peavey Special, just in the head form. So a lot of the guys try to say to the proper application for the HM2 is to give it kind of like a edge of breakup Marshall sound. So yeah, if you can play AC/DC and it sounds appropriate, then that's probably it. Because if you do this, it'll sound cool, but you cannot hear yourself at all in the mix if you were like to just stack gain on gain. So that's it. Here's the HM2 right here, all at noon. So it does take it back. Everything's at noon. So what you have to do is turn the level up. Here the level's all the way up. Everything else is at noon. You can do a lot with this pedal. It's actually pretty versatile if you really think about it. You can do doom. So let's take the distortion down, the levels up, the knobs are still at noon, the high and the low. I'm going to be fiddling with the high and low now. That tone you can hear in a lot of like kind of heavy like metal, hence the name, or rock and roll in the 80s. Like I think that's like what people tried to like figure it out as. So shit like this. It's just such a boutique pedal that people aren't going to go out of their way to use this heavy metal pedal for blues or something, right? They're going to get a blues driver. Guitarists, we all love shit that matches the vibe, right? So that's kind of like the intended purpose for it, I think. Here's the level, the Swedish death metal mode right here, with the Marshall kind of edge of breakup sound. So the distortion's not all the way up. Here's everything turned up except distortion. So we're already pretty much there. Here's the distortion kind of like at noon. Everything is maxed out except the distortion, which is at 12. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Here's the distortion all the way up. And this is the everything maxed out. So here's a scooped, the shift knob. It's not bad either. I think it'll work in certain applications, like if it's just the guitar, like before the bass and the drums kick in like a middle bridge part, it'll work. It just gives the sound character. You know, that's why it's so recognizable and usable for that context. Here's how I would use it, and then I'll kind of just end the video with like my opinion on it. But here's how I would use it. Because the magic is the fucking high button. That's what gives it the grind. More, I mean, I had trouble dialing it in, but that's a more low-key way to use it. I think the DS1 sounds dope too. Autopsy used the DS1. Grave used the DS1 in the kind of application of the heavy metal. But Sadistic Intent, after reading their Conflict Within demo, he used, I think, this and stacked it. I think if you stack this with like an overdrive or a tube screamer, like it'll sound pretty fucking good. And that's what a lot of people did back in the day. They stacked pedals, so that's the beauty of it. You can always experiment, but it works. I mean, it's a foolproof method if you want to do the Swedish death metal thing. Turn everything up and then just have like a edge of breakup amp. But for me personally, it's just hard to like do it alone with this tone. You need like, that's why Entombed was successful. They had a guy playing a Marshall, and then this guy got a solid state with this. So the two guitars, you can get away with it because it's a full sound. But if you're doing it by yourself, it's going to be a little more difficult. So I'm in the video with just old school death metal right from the amp. For all the fans of just the amp itself, enjoy. that's the Supreme with the heavy metal. I think it works well. And also, a side note, I think the secret sauce too for the HM2s, the EMG81s, and like floppy strings and low tunings, like anything under C sharp. I think C standard and B sharp benefit from it. Um, but yeah, like it's definitely a fucking flavor that not everyone likes, but you can totally use it not even with that application of Swedish death metal. Like it's pretty much a cool distortion pedal, man. I mean, um, just kind of look in the forums and see what other bands used it. That's like the magic at the end of the day. Just listen to everything else that was recorded using the same gear but different applications is what's cool about music and gear. So anyhow, hope you guys like this content. I wish I could make it a little more professional or visually entertaining, but this is the cab. It's a matching kind of cab for the cat tongue reptile skin fucking thing, but it has two Sheffield 1270s, which are like bootleg 75s, real fizzier versions. And then the one with the smaller cone is the 1290s that came from like a 2x12 PV special or something like that, or the PV 2x12. So I kind of got the best of both worlds. So, alright, guys, take it easy.